Also tonight, you've got the Trump administration escalating its fight against one of the Fed governors, so one of the people who sits on the board of the Federal Reserve, with the Trump administration advancing a criminal investigation into Lisa Cook. She's somebody who President Trump and his allies have been accusing of mortgage fraud. Cook denies that. She's now suing the president after he tried to fire her for cause. Earlier today, one of President Trump's top advisors, the person who made the allegation in the first place, really raised some eyebrows when he did not refused to disclose where he got what he calls a tip about this alleged fraud. Watch.
This tip came from where?
Well, you have to understand, of course, as part of a federal investigation, I'm not going to explain our sources and methods, where we get tips from, who are whistleblowers. This is exactly why you have whistleblower protections. This is exactly why you don't intimidate people who are your sources, who give you information.
I want to, in a statement, by the way, Cook's lawyer basically says the DOJ, which is supposed to work independently, is simply doing President Trump's bidding, calling this a politicized investigation. Let me bring in Brian Chung, who's following this for us. Brian, first question to you here. The DOJ is now looking into these allegations of mortgage fraud, again, which Cook denies. Is this something that would typically rise to the level of a federal investigation like this?
Yeah, and our colleagues Steve Kopak and Ryan Riley confirmed what the Wall Street Journal had reported earlier, which is that the Department of Justice is taking additional steps to look into potential mortgage fraud, perhaps done by Lisa Cook, as alleged by that person you just showed, Bill Pulte, who is currently heading the Federal Housing Finance Authority, which would be in charge of investigating these types of things. But I want to point out Lisa Cook, who is a governor at the Federal Reserve, is only one of a number of officials that the Trump administration has made these allegations of mortgage fraud against, like, for example, Senator Schiff of California. But there was also questions over whether or not this administration is only going after Democrats for political retribution. In fact, Bill Pulte, this person, again, at the FHFA, was pressed by our colleague over at CNBC about whether or not he's looking into similar reported allegations of mortgage fraud from the likes of Republicans like Ken Paxton in Texas. Take a listen to that exchange from earlier today.
There's at least, it looks like, 3 examples, working examples right now of what could be described as alleged mortgage fraud. Is that something you're looking at?
I'm not going to comment on any specific situation. If things are made public, then or if we decide to make them public, then I will talk about it.
The thing is that he's already made a number of things public, like, for example, the Lisa Cook allegations and those against other Democrats as well. So kind of a big question here over how this is perhaps being weaponized by the White House. But again, mortgage fraud is certainly illegal. The question is, can they prove it? These are charges that have not been lobbied, at least in the case of Lisa Cook, quite yet.
Let's pull out macro, Steve, because, we're not... Our friends at CNBC do an amazing job doing what they do. Obviously, you saw Andrew Ross Sorkin there. They're doing their thing. If you're not following the ins and outs of the business news, here's what it feels like this comes down to. It's about the independence of the Fed, right? I mean, this is a moment here where there are critics who are concerned that the president is maybe trying to get a loyalist on the Fed board, somebody who has already told Congress he'll keep his White House job if confirmed. The language the president uses when talking about the Fed, the quote-unquote sides, this is supposed to be, right, an independent agency. We had a top White House official on this show less than a month ago saying the independence of the Fed is paramount here. What is happening to the independence of the Fed? Has it slipped away yet? Is it on the precipice? Help us understand that piece of it.
Yeah, it's relevant because as the president is trying to use mortgage fraud to push out Lisa Cook, who was the Biden appointee at the Federal Reserve, there was a hearing today in the Senate Banking Committee for Stephen Myron. He is the Trump pick for a temporary spot over at the Federal Reserve. And there have been questions about his independence, questions that actually led to more questions after today's hearing when he told the senators that actually he was going to take a leave of absence from his role at the Council of Economic Advisors if he was to take on this role at the Federal Reserve, which would last about 4 months, with an expectation that he would likely get extended past that point. I've been following the Federal Reserve for a while. I have not seen a situation before where a sitting Federal Reserve governor at an independent board like the Fed, who's supposed to be making decisions about the economy independent of the White House, is still technically on the roster of employees at the White House. So again, a lot of legal questions there. He says that his counsel is advising him to do that, but whether or not he would be able to make independent decisions in that type of situation and setup is very much an open question, Hallie.